Alright guys, so maybe this is the season of AI launches, because after getting some extremely powerful AI models like GPT 5.6 and Fable 5, it's time for another powerful AI model. And this one is open source. It's from China, Kimi K3. People are saying it's very good at 3D modeling, making astonishing websites and doing coding work, and it beats Fable 5 to some extent. Maybe this is the AI model that sits right next to Fable 5 and GPT 5.6. So we're going to deep dive into Kimi K3, look at some demos, and I'll share my personal opinion. But before we dive into the video, let's take a short overview of Kimi K3. It's an open source model from China, and the surprising part is its parameter count, 2.8 trillion parameters. For context, previously only DeepSeek Viv4 had a parameter count of 1.5 trillion. Kimi K3 comes in at 2.8 trillion parameters, which is the highest in the open source category to this date. It was built on their own innovation called Kimi Delta Attention, or KDA. You can check the description if you want to study this more in depth. This gives it a context window of 1 million tokens, which is very good for an open source AI model. So again, 2.8 trillion parameters, the highest ever for an open source model. And the company claims it's very good at long horizon coding, knowledge work, and reasoning. Let's take a look at Kimi K3's benchmark scores. And surprisingly, it's very good. In almost every benchmark, it's landing in the top 3. On the Agentic benchmark and the BrowseComp benchmark, it's actually beating Fable 5 and GPT 5.6. Now, looking at the coding capabilities specifically, it's very good there too, just as the company claims. On the SWE Marathon benchmark, Kimi K3 takes first rank, beating both Fable 5 and GPT 5.6 Sol. On other benchmark scores, it's also performing very well, landing in second rank and beating Fable 5. I already mentioned it's very good at coding, building websites, and doing some 3D stuff. So let's take a look at the demos and see how good it actually is. While recording this video, LM Arena confirmed that Kimi K3 has secured first rank in front-end design, even beating Fable 5 and GPT 5.6. In this demo comparing Fable 5, GPT 5.6 and Kimi K3, the transitions, the 3D elements, and the background particle motion feel genuinely premium, like an astonishing website created by Kimi K3. If we look at the Fable 5 output, it feels good, but the effects, the background motion, and the motion graphics feel a bit off. Actually, quite noticeably off. Kimi K3 wins here. Here's another comparison between Kimi K3 and Fable 5. And again, Kimi K3 is better at designing motion graphics. How the transitions and the text move is just better on Kimi K3. I personally like this a lot. Kimi K3 is very good at front-end design, 3D modeling, and even building browser games. That was the first demo I wanted to show you. The next demo is about 3D design. Here's a comparison between Kimi K3 and GPT 5.6, Sol making a 3D pin model. You can see how good Kimi K3 is at 3D modeling. The shadows and the texture on the pin feel like they took several hours to create. It's genuinely impressive and astonishing. Next, here's a comparison of 3D modeling between Kimi K3 and Fable 5. You can see how good Kimi K3 is at making 3D artifacts. Fable 5 created a hand, but it feels very 2D flat. Kimi K3's output actually feels 3D, and it's astonishing and impressive, especially at half the price of Fable 5. Based on that alone, it's very good at this. The third most prominent capability of Kimi K3 is that it's very good at making browser games. In this output, someone created an RDR-style game using Kimi K3. It's definitely not identical to the actual Red Dead Redemption, but as a playable browser game, it's impressive. I don't think even Fable 5 can create something like this. Kimi K3 isn't just good at games either. People have created some wild stuff, like recreating Windows and macOS operating systems inside a web browser. In one output, most of the expected elements are there. Settings, control panels, the ability to change the background, The usual things you'd find in Windows 11 settings. There's a media player, an audio player, even a code editor built in along with a terminal. Basically all the basic functionality you'd expect from an operating system. Now, here's the most important part. When you build something like this in a web browser, with Fable 5 or GPT 5.6, the main issue is that if you refresh or reload the page, everything you did is gone. With Kimi K3, all of that state is saved. Whatever app you had open, whatever you were doing, it persists. That's very impressive, especially considering Kimi K3 is half the price. And in my personal opinion, the most surprising thing built with Kimi K3 is a full macOS 27 clone running in a web browser. All the native apps are there. It even has something like an app store where you can install games. And the transitions and effects of opening and closing apps are almost identical to actual macOS. By the way, this took almost 3 hours to generate and ran non-stop, but the output really feels worth the wait. Kimi K3 proved here that it's very good at building cool, functional stuff on the web. Looking at reviews on social media, people are saying Kimi K3 is very good at front-end design, and there's no doubt it beats Fable 5 and GPT 5.6. Even Fable 5 running at max effort when it comes to front-end work. That said, there's a downside. Kimi K3 is slow. While Fable 5 and GPT 5.6 usually generate output in a few minutes, Kimi K3 typically takes 2 to 3 times longer. That puts it a step behind on speed. But overall, Kimi K3 is very good at producing cool front-end web design work. If we talk about the hype around Kimi K3 on social media, a lot of people are saying it's very good at web design and UI animation, but it still falls behind on actual coding problems. Things like debugging code and building working programs. There are also people claiming it might be a distilled version of Fable 5. That's not confirmed, but it's possible. Many are also saying the hype around Kimi K3 is a bit overblown, since it fails in several cases. For example, when trying to debug code, or in the hidden frog test, and instead of admitting it can't solve the problem, it just gives you random made-up reasons why it can't. So overall, I think Kimi K3 is good, but it's not great at debugging or identifying and fixing bugs. I think it was a bit overhyped online. GPT 5.6 and Fable 5 are still stronger overall, but Kimi K3 is genuinely excellent at a few specific things. That's my take on Kimi K3. Drop your opinions in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first video, and I'll keep improving in the next ones. So please consider liking and subscribing. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, goodbye.